What's up, guys? This is Lucky, and welcome to the Outer Rim, where Greedo shoots first. First DLC for Battlefront is out, and in this particular episode, I'm going to go over the new maps, and the new modes, and the new playlists, and all that good stuff that's associated with it, and new star cards and such, and basically what I think of this particular DLC. This also came with a huge patch that's got lots of changes and stuff associated with it, and I'm going to cover it in my other videos. So if you haven't seen it yet, please go check it out, and it's going to be great. But there is lots of really good stuff in this DLC, and some stuff that we'll see. But we've got a lot of ground to cover, and without any further ado, let's get right into it. First off, the multiplayer menu has been redesigned. So now they have a 40-player, 16-player in hero mode playlist that's available for all players that's going to take you immediately into the quickest, most available match. They've also lowered the player count on Drop Zone. It's been reduced to fit into the 16-player mode. Now, as you know, Drop Zone was played on the smaller maps, but it was played on the bigger versions, slightly bigger versions of those maps. So it's going to be interesting to see how the smaller player count plays out, and I'm not so sure that it's going to work well, although it may actually work very well. I have a feeling it's going to allow the dominant teams to dominate more easily because they've got less people coming to the pod, and it's just going to be easier for them to maintain control over that area. Basically, if you select one of these modes, it's going to take you in. So if you select a 40-player mode, it's going to take you into Turning Point, Supremacy, or Walker Assault. It's going to find you basically the best ping, the best match, and get you into a game as fast as possible. Now, you still have the all mode screen, and you'll be able to go in there and pick whatever mode in particular that you want to play. Teams, also, one of the other big, huge changes, and something that a lot of people have been asking for, is that teams will now rebalance. But they will only rebalance when you switch between maps. So basically it will rebalance, you'll play as Rebels and then Empire, and then you'll switch maps and it will rebalance the teams again. So that's a nice way to do auto balancing. I didn't think it's something that Battlefront would ever see, particularly because one person might get stuck with Empire over and over again, and the way that they've approached it I think is very intelligent so that doesn't happen. It's important to note also with this patch, in the regular playlist, there's a bug with credits in the end of game giving you 0, but it just says 0 as far as the number of credits you get, and that's just a bug. You're still getting the actual credits, so it's not a huge deal. I'm sure that they will fix that. They've also increased the rank cap for all players from 50 to 60, which gives you a little bit something more to work for. I know a lot of us who've been playing Battlefront since launch, we've all hit level 50 long ago. So this is something to give us a little bit something more to chew on, and I think with each one of these DLCs, you're going to see that happen. Also in the multiplayer menu, if you're a Season Pass holder, and soon you'll now see the Outer Rim playlist. And in the Outer Rim, it's a dedicated playlist for smaller maps. There's only smaller maps included with this particular DC, and they have lots of stuff. You got Jabba's Palace. And it's got tons and tons of great detail into it, down to the Han's Carbonite thing with Han's already out of it. There's a dead Ranker because all this stuff occurred after Return of the Jedi. But there's tons of amazing details in there. It's got Sullust Factory, which reminds me a lot of Mustafar, actually. And supposedly there's the Dianoga, the trash compactor monster, is hidden somewhere inside of it. And then you've got another Sullust map and another basically Jabba's garage map. So you have 2 maps that are around Jabba's palace and 2 maps that are in and around this factory on Sullust. The playlist rotates between Cargo, Heroes vs. Villains, Blast, Extraction, and Droid Run. And you can go in and select a particular mode that you want to play within this content. But a lot of people are reporting that even once they select that mode, once that game is over, they're being forced into this rotation. These are all very close quarters maps, and so if you're a CA-87 and you like the shotgun, you're going to love this. If you like pistols, you're going to love this. These are all smaller maps, very close quarters, no Walker Assault, no Supremacy, And I actually kind of think that's one of the drawbacks to it, and I'll get into my review later. But DICE has said that in the next releases, those are going to probably focus more on the bigger content. I will say, with it being third person, with it being smaller and close quarters, I'm typically a first person kind of guy. I will say that being third person actually does really, I think it's really beneficial for this particular playlist, and I found myself switching over to it and doing a little bit better as a result of it. There's also a new mode called Extraction, and this mode is fucking awesome. We need more smaller modes like this and less like Droid Run. But basically, the rebels escort a moving objective, this precious cargo, a shipment, through 3 different checkpoints within a set time limit. As you get to each checkpoint, about 5 minutes is added to the clock, so altogether 15 minutes. But you have to hit each checkpoint, so the game could potentially be over in 5 minutes. And one of the neat little things is it encourages you basically to defend this shipment, and if you don't know, if you stand next to the actual shipment, your star cards will regenerate faster, and that's going to encourage more team and more objective play. There's also another interesting little tweak in this. This is a hero mode, and it's 8v8 essentially, but in the first checkpoint, only the rebels who are basically defending the shipment, they get 1 hero. And in the second checkpoint, or the second wave, basically the heroes and the villains get a hero or villain. And in the third checkpoint, only the Empire gets a villain. So and you cannot choose which ones you want. These are dedicated ones. Like on a particular map, it may just be Princess Leia in that first wave, and in the second wave, it's Han Solo and Greedo, and in the third wave, it's Emperor Palpatine. And this is a balancing deal. And it's very specific, and I actually think it works really, really quite well. And I think it's just a great fun mode that I would like to see more of. Speaking of heroes and villains, like I said originally, Outer Rim DLC has 2 new heroes and villains, Yin Yum and Greedo. And they've added an interesting tweak to each of these heroes, in that they've got a basically something called a confidence level. And the better you perform within, the more improved your abilities become. So the more kills you get within a short time frame, your abilities get more and more powerful. And then if you don't kill for a set amount of time, basically that confidence level drops back down, and those abilities drop back down. And let me tell you exactly how this works in particular for a particular hero. Let's start with Greedo. And one of Greedo's abilities is a Dioxis Grenade, which releases a poison gas, and it's actually one of the new star cards included in the Outer Rim DLC. When you first start out, at his confidence level is its lowest, you have the Dioxis Grenade. As you get more kills, it moves up to a thermal detonator, and then eventually it moves up to a thermal imploder that is amazingly fucking badass. So the better you do with Greedo, the more powerful your grenade becomes. He also carries a blaster. It's a DT-12, which is one of the new blaster pistols added in this content, and it's in Greedo's hands, and I'll cover guns in more detail, but in Greedo's hands it's basically a one-shot, and it's freaking amazing gun in Greedo's hands. Greedo's very fast, and he's very much an offensive player, and he's built to be offensive, to charge in there, to get kills, and to hammer people with his stuff. He has also a Greedo sense, which is like a buffed scan pulse that allows him, that lasts much longer than a scan pulse now, and spans out over a pretty wide area and stays active and allows him to see enemies through walls. And his last ability is a lock-on, where he holds the button, he can lock on to multiple targets, pull the trigger, and this is the key, is once you get your lock, you still have to pull the fire trigger, and then it will shoot all those targets in rapid succession and one shot kill all of them. It sounds a lot better than it actually is, because while you're doing your locking on, it takes a little bit of time to actually do that, and you're leaving yourself very vulnerable to counterattack and taking damage while you do that. But on the whole, Greedo is fucking amazing, and he, just like the other hero, will be available in all modes, even outside of the Outer Rim playlist in Walker Assault, Supremacy, other heroes versus villains. And he's a fucking badass. Actually, I'm actually really excited, and I think they did a really good job with him. Now the other one is Nian Yum, and he is more of a defensive player, and his abilities kind of focus around holding a particular objective, I feel like. He carries the DH-17, which is the very first blaster that you unlock in the game. It's an automatic fire blaster. In his hands, though, it actually does pretty good damage, although I don't know that it has quite the time to kill that Greedo's blaster does. He has also a rapidly recharging plasma cannon, which is similar to the star card, although I will say this particular plasma cannon is a lot more forgiving as far as movement goes than the existing plasma cannon. So he is able to do a little bit more run and gun. It also charges up faster. So in general, it's more powerful. It's going to allow him to stand back more at a distance again and hold a particular objective. And last but not least, he has an infantry turret, and this is the one that applies into his confidence level. When he first sets it down, the more kills he gets, the better it gets, and eventually it will get up to where it locks on amazingly fast and fires explosive shot. And it's really powerful. Now, if you place down another infantry turret, you're basically resetting the progress on that turret, so you want to find a good spot and you want to keep it down where it is. Again, this goes back to his primary focus being on holding an area down or holding a particular objective. And then last but not least, he carries proximity bombs. He can lay out up to 4 or 5 at a time. Each way has a very, very short recharge on it, so you can pepper a whole area with proximity bombs. That's in these smaller maps. Now on the larger maps, he actually gets an orbital strike, which could be quite amazingly deadly. And you know, again, it goes back to, in a larger game mode, he is holding down a particular objective, and I could think with that and his plasma cannon against a Walker and Walker Assault, he's going to be able to do massive damage during the AT-AT run. So I think he's really good, and honestly, in my Heroes vs. Villains play so far, Nian Yum in the hands of the right player has been a holdout in Heroes vs. Villains. So he's actually been able to stand up where the other heroes haven't. So great job to DICE on these. I mean, when you first heard them, you were like, what the fuck are they doing with these guys? Who are these people? But the way they've implemented them, they're amazing. And they may almost justify the price of the DLC. Now, on to new guns and star cards. Now, with the DLC, they've released a couple of guns for everyone, and then 2 guns and 3 star cards are only for Outer Rim or DLC holders, per se. They've also implemented a new way called HUT contracts for you to obtain the weapons and star cards. So you go into your HUT contracts menu, you basically choose what it is you want to unlock. You pay a number of credits, 3,500, 8,000, whatever the case may be, to unlock this particular gun or star card. And then you're given a contract, and that contract consists of 2 to 3 objectives, and maybe like get 15 targeting rifle kills, get 3 targeting rifle streaks, use 20 smoke bombs, or something of that nature that's tied into that particular star card that you're unlocking before you actually unlock the weapon. This is great, and I actually think this is something they really probably should have done from the get-go, but it's a great idea, and I hope it's something that they keep, and with any luck we'll see this move forward into Battlefront 2. But let's get into the guns themselves. First, the DL-18 pistol is a semi-auto pistol that has a very high rate of fire. It has the range of the DL-44, and it has exceptional cooldowns. It kills in 3 to 5 shots. You actually can see it in Return of the Jedi. Luke pulls it from a Gamorrean in Jabba's palace right before he goes down in the Ranker's pit. I find it like really good with explosive shot is what I've really liked with it so far. You don't need cooling cell with it because of its exceptional cooldown already, and you don't necessarily need focus fire with it because it is a semi-auto and it's very, very balanced and it's laser accurate. This gun, as far as all guns, I will say all the new guns feel very, very balanced. None of them are the DL44 that are going to be overpowered, and I think every single one of them in the hands of someone who is accurate. I think these guns actually favor people who are very accurate and skilled with headshots. Every one of these guns, if you're good with headshots, you're going to get exceptional time to kills that are going to compete and maybe even be better than the other guns. Now, if you're just hitting body shots, there are other guns that are better out there. So these are guns that favor those people who are precise enough to hit headshots. The other gun that you unlock is the DLT 19-6, which is a modification of the DLT 19 Heavy Blaster, but it only fires one shot. This is the first primary sniper rifle that's been added to the game. It will one shot and if the headshot, and it will one shot at very close quarters. At distance, it's 2 to 3 shots. It has an amazingly long cooldown between shots. So it has a very slow rate of fire. Honestly, if you put this one with the cooldown card, you're able to get off 3, 4, 5 shots in relatively quick succession, and it actually makes a lot of sense to use that with this particular gun. Personally, my personal experience with it, I've had a lot less luck hitting headshots at distance and using it as a sniper rifle as I have using it as a shotgun. It almost works like the CA-87 with focus fire, but imagine that, putting that with cooldown, and you can kind of go in short range and pull off 5 quick close range shots from people, and it's actually it's very, very deadly at close range, and I did much better at close range with it. Although, I think in the right hands, once you get the hang of hitting headshots with it, some people are going to do very well. Moving on to the Outer Rim weapons and start cards. We've got the DT-12 blaster pistol. It's Credo's gun. Has a very slow rate of fire. It's got the range of the SC-14C. It overheats relatively quickly, but it also does lots of damage. It can basically two-shot people with headshots, or it's 3 to 4 body shots. If you're getting body shots with this gun with the slow rate of fire, you're probably going to wind up dead. I don't know if it's quite as good as the DL44. In the hands of Greedo with the damage buff, it's great. By itself, not so much. You might pair cooling cell or explosive shot. Actually, with explosive shot, it will two-shot people pretty much, even with body shot, with the amount of damage that it does. And with explosive shot, it's actually pretty deadly. We also have the Railby V10, and jury's still out on this. It is a semi-auto, high rate of fire rifle with incredible accuracy. It is Bosk's rifle. Bosk is one of the bounty hunters that you see in Empire Strikes Back, the big lizard guy, who I would love to get in DLC. But this is Bosk's rifle, and maybe this is a slight hint that we're going to get to see Bosk in some DLC, perhaps with Chewbacca. That would be freaking kick-ass. But Bosk's rifle is, it's like I said, it's semi-auto. It's extremely, extremely accurate, very high rate of fire, almost as fast as you can pull the trigger. It is about 3 to 4 shots to kill. I think probably 3 with headshot, 2 to 3 with a headshot. And this is actually probably one of my favorite guns. I think it's actually really, I'm really kind of undecided on it because I'm not quite totally good with it yet. It's taken me some practice, but I think once I get the rhythm of the gun and how to fire, because I'm not used to firing semi-auto in Battlefront yet, I think once I get the hang of it and start hitting headshots, I think it's going to be very deadly. I have run some pretty nice streaks on it, and I think it's actually going to be a go-to for a lot of players. Now, moving on to star cards, we've got the scatter gun. This is double shot shotgun that pierces shields. It goes right through bubble boys, and that's very important with the changes they've made these days. I've also got the Dioxis grenade, which has a 35-second cooldown, and it has a very dangerous cloud of poison gas. And I actually thought this was going to be somewhat weak, but the area of effect for the poison is huge. It's going to allow you to hold down an area, and there's actually just a little bit of tiny damage right outside the cloud, and I think people aren't going to be very cognizant of it, and they're going to take a little damage. And this is actually really excited about this. And then last, there's an adrenaline stim card. It is a star card that uses charges, and what it does is when you're not taking damage, it rapidly immediately heals you. Like, you heal almost immediately. If you're taking damage, like in a poison glass cloud, no, I mean, you're not going to be healed. As long as you're still taking damage, it's not going to heal you. But what it does is eliminate that basically 2, 3, 4 second pause that happens before your healing starts to take effect. And so the second you stop taking damage, after about a half second, you're going to heal. And this is going to be really good, I feel like, for run and gunners. People who have pistols, they're running in there, and they're getting in the heat of the action, especially on indoor, where all you have to do is just find a small split second of cover, and you can pop this basically and heal yourself almost instantly. And I really think this is actually a really nice card, and it's going to have its uses, and it's going to be very good on some particular maps. Now, overall, how do I feel about the Outer Rim DLC? Extraction is fun, but Extraction is a lot of fun, but I feel like the playlist is going to get old after a few weeks, maybe 10 to 20 hours of gameplay. You can only play in this playlist. I'm not going to go in any big modes. I tend to prefer the bigger modes myself. Now, I think if you are someone who likes the smaller modes, like all you play is Blast and Heroes versus Villains and Drop Zone and stuff, this DLC is probably going to be awesome for you. For those of you who don't, I don't know. I think everyone's going to play it for a little while because it's new, and admittedly, Extraction is very fun mode. That being said, I actually feel like after about a month, the playlist on this is going to slowly die. So I think after about 2 to 3 to 4 weeks of play, I'm going to be bored with it, and it's going to be time to move on. Which really means, as far as getting your money's worth, which is $12.50 or $15, depending on whether you buy it solo, are the extra weapons, star cards, and heroes worth it? And I will say, if you play Battlefront on a regular basis or semi-regular basis, you like coming back and playing with it, and you want a little bit of variety to your game, I feel like 10 or 15 bucks is worth it for that. I honestly feel like it's worth it. For me, it's totally worth it. But if you're not someone who plays on a regular basis and you're wondering if this is going to bring you back, I can't say that it is. I mean, I'd say that I'm not going to say that this is a ripoff, because it's not. But I'm certainly not going to say that you get more than your money's worth, because you don't. I mean, I think this is just kind of like almost barely passable. Overall, I like the Outer Rim DLC. I'm happy with it as a Battlefront player. I'm extremely happy with it to have more content. And I think other people who play Battlefront on a regular basis, you guys probably have already bought it though. You should buy, and if you haven't, if you do play Battlefront at all semi-regularly, you should go ahead and cough up the 10 or 15 bucks. If you're on the fence, maybe wait for Bespin, because I actually kind of think that Cloud City is going to be somewhat amazing. That's just my thought. Now, that's my opinion of the Outer Rim DLC. I'll give it 3 out of 5 stars. Well, that wraps up my review to the Outer Rim DLC. And so I'm going to check out, and in my very next video, I'm going to go over all the patch changes to weapons, to guns, to heroes, to vehicles and all the stuff included in the general patch notes. And I'll have that video out very shortly after this one. Anyways, this is Lucky signing out. Thank you guys for joining me. Peace.